At my own kitchen table, my son looked me in the eye and called me a senile old woman. He did not know that inside my cardigan pocket a little silver recorder was catching every word. For his 7 minutes of it. My name is Eleanor. I am 72 years old, and I live on a 40-acre farm in Tennessee that my husband Walter and I paid off with 30 years of early mornings. Walter passed 2 springs ago. Heart attack out by the peach tree he planted the year our son was born. People assume that when a woman buries her husband, she becomes something soft and lost, something that needs managing. Here is what those people do not know about me. Before I was anybody's grandma, I was the bookkeeper for the county school district for 34 years. Every bus route, every payroll, every penny of a $9 million budget crossed my desk. I have kept a line-a-day diary since 1987. Every appointment, every phone call, every receipt. Walter used to say, "Ellie, God help the man who argues with your ledger." We raised one son, Gregory. Gregory married a woman named Pamela, and they have a daughter, my granddaughter Lily, who is 20 and in nursing school, and who is the only person in that house who still hugs me like she means it. After Walter died, Gregory started coming around more. At first, I thought it was grief. He helped with the bills for a while, took a card from my account just to make things easier, Mom. I let him. I was tired and I was sad, and he was my son. That was my first mistake. The second mistake was theirs. They assumed that because I let them help me, I had stopped paying attention. They forgot who kept the books in this family. And by the time they sat me down at my own kitchen table with a brochure and a stack of papers and a speech about my own good, I was not the confused old woman they had spent months inventing. I was a bookkeeper with a full ledger and a fresh set of batteries. It started with small things, strange little things. Last autumn, my house keys turned up in the mailbox. I have hung my keys on the same brass hook by the door since Jimmy Carter was president. Pamela found them. She held them up and said, "Oh, Eleanor, we really need to keep an eye on you." A few weeks later, my chest freezer in the barn was unplugged. I lost half a season of vegetables and the last jars of peach preserves made from Walter's tree. I stood in that barn and cried. Gregory put his arm around me and said, "Mom, you have to be more careful." But here's the thing. I had been in that barn 2 days earlier for canning lids. The freezer was humming. My diary says so because my diary says everything. Then came the doctor appointment I supposedly missed. Pamela swore she had scheduled it and told me twice. No appointment in my diary. So I did something simple. I called the clinic and asked when the appointment had been made. The girl on the phone checked and said, "Ma'am, that appointment was booked online the same morning, 1 hour before it started." 1 hour before. Nobody misses an appointment they were told about twice if it was created 60 minutes before it began. That is not forgetfulness, sweetheart. That is arithmetic. I sat down that night with my diary and a legal pad, and I did what I have done my whole life. I made a ledger. Left column, the incident. Right column, the facts. The keys, the freezer, the appointment, the stove I supposedly left on during a week I ate nothing but soup from the kettle, the neighbor who mentioned, real casual, that Pamela had asked him whether I seemed confused lately. 5 incidents in 4 months. Every single one had a witness, and every single time the witness was Gregory or Pamela. When the same name keeps showing up next to every loss, any bookkeeper will tell you that is not bad luck, that is embezzlement. Only this time what they were stealing was not money, they were stealing my mind, on paper, one little story at a time. I just didn't know yet what they were planning to buy with it. Lily told me that part. It was a Sunday in February. Lily came by to study at my kitchen table, the way she does when her house gets loud. She was quiet all afternoon. Then she closed her laptop and said, "Grandma, I have to tell you something, and Dad can never know it came from me." She had come home early 2 nights before and heard her parents in the kitchen. They were talking about this farm. Pamela said the land alone would bring $400,000, said she had already talked to her friend Denise, the realtor, quietly. And Gregory said, "None of it moves until we have guardianship. We need the doctor's letter, and we need more incidents." Incidents? My granddaughter looked at me with tears in her eyes and asked, "Grandma, what does that mean?" I held her hand and said, "It means your grandmother needs to make some phone calls, honey." I did not cry. I want you to understand that. There is a particular calm that comes over a woman when the worst thing is finally written down in ink and it has a name, and the name is not dementia. The name is a plan. Monday morning, I drove myself to town. First stop, the bank. I asked for 2 years of statements on my account. The manager, Carol, printed every page, and there it was in black and white. Cash withdrawals on the card I had given Gregory. 200 here, 400 there, steady as a drumbeat, going back almost 2 years. I sat in the bank parking lot and added it up twice because that is who I am. $23,000. My son had been bleeding my account for 2 years while building a story that I could not be trusted with my own money. Do you see the shape of it now? First, you take the money quietly. Then you get the mother declared incompetent, and then no one ever audits you because the only witness is a senile old woman. It is almost clever. Almost. Because there was one thing Gregory never once thought about in all his planning. His mother balanced budgets for a living before he was born, and his mother was about to call a lawyer. Marcus Webb has an office above the hardware store and a handshake like a bear trap. He was Walter's lawyer for 20 years. Now he's mine. I laid it all out on his desk, the diary, the ledger of incidents, the bank statements with $23,000 highlighted in yellow. Marcus read for a long while. Then he took off his glasses and said, "Eleanor, I need you to do 3 things, and I need you to do them exactly. Thing 1, a full medical evaluation. Not their doctor, ours. That Thursday I spent 4 hours with a specialist named Dr. Patel. Memory tests, judgment tests, drawing clocks and counting backward and naming every president since Truman. When it was over, Dr. Patel smiled and said, 'Mrs. Hayes, your cognition scores are above average for a woman 20 years younger. Would you like that in writing?' I said, 'In triplicate, please.' Thing 2, Marcus moved my accounts, canceled the extra card, and locked everything behind a trust with my name on it. Thing 3 was the one I asked about myself. I said, Marcus, if my family sits me down for one of their little meetings, can I record it without telling them? Marcus smiled for the first time that day. He said, Eleanor, Tennessee is a one-party consent state. If you are in the conversation, you can record every blessed second of it. That night I went to Walter's closet and took down the little silver recorder he used for bird calls. He would sit on the porch for hours recording wood thrushes. I put in fresh AAA batteries. I practiced turning it on inside my cardigan until I could do it with 2 fingers, smooth as buttoning a coat. And then I did the hardest part of the whole plan. Nothing. I waited. I baked. I went to church. I let 'em think their story was working. In the first week of April, Gregory called. He used his gentle voice, the one Pamela taught him. He said, Mom, Pam and I want to sit down with you Sunday, just family. We are worried about you, and we want to talk about your future. I said, That sounds lovely, sweetheart. I will make a pound cake. I hung up the phone, and then I looked at Walter's picture on the hall cable and said, Well, old man, Sunday we go bird watching. Sunday came. Pound cake on the table, coffee in the good cups, and in my cardigan pocket against my heart a little silver recorder already running. Gregory and Pamela sat across from me with a folder and a glossy brochure. Sunset Pines, Assisted Living Community. A silver-haired couple laughing on the cover, like being warehoused was a cruise. Pamela slid it across the table with 2 fingers. She said, Eleanor, we have been so worried. The keys, the freezer, the missed appointments. It is getting worse and you cannot see it. I asked mildly, What exactly are you proposing? And they laid it out. God bless them, they laid out every piece of it in complete sentences, in their own voices. Gregory said I would sign a power of attorney, giving him control of the accounts and the farm. Pamela said the farm was too much for me and that Denise had already looked at comparable land prices. Her words, already looked. Gregory said, Mom, I have been managing some of your money for 2 years anyway. It is called being responsible. I remember looking at my coffee, thinking, Keep talking, son. The wood thrushes never confessed this nicely. Then I asked the question Marcus told me to ask. I said, And if I say no? The gentle voices stopped. Pamela looked at Gregory. Gregory looked at me. And my only child leaned back in my kitchen chair in the house his father built and said, Mom, if you fight us on this, we will file for guardianship and a judge will decide. You are a senile old woman. Everyone sees it but you. Sign the papers and keep your dignity. 41 minutes into the recording. Senile old woman. Clear as a church bell. I let the silence sit for a moment. Then I stood up, smoothed my cardigan, and said, I believe I will think it over. Take some cake home to Lily. Pamela blinked. She said, That is it? You will think it over? I said, At my age, dear, I do not rush into things. You know how I get. I walked them to the door, smiled, waved from the porch. Then I went inside, took out the recorder, and pressed stop. The file said 47 minutes and 12 seconds. I made 2 copies before supper, drove one to Marcus in the morning, and put the other in my safe deposit box. Bookkeepers always keep a backup. 3 weeks later, they actually did it. Gregory filed a petition for guardianship over me in the county courthouse where I did the school payroll for 34 years. Their petition told a sad little story: a declining widow, lost keys, ruined food, missed appointments, a worried son with no choice left. Marcus read it to me over the phone, and then he said something I will treasure until my last day. He said, "Eleanor, they built their whole case on incidents you already ledgered. This is not a hearing, this is an audit." The hearing came in June. Small courtroom. Judge Ramsey, a woman about my age with reading glasses on a chain, which I took as a good sign. Their lawyer went first. He talked about my safety, my confusion, the family's heartbreak. Gregory took the stand and did his gentle voice. Pamela dabbed her eyes with a tissue that never once got wet. Then it was our turn. Marcus stood up slowly, the way he does, like a bear deciding. First, Dr. Patel's report, cognition above average, in triplicate. Second, the clinic record showing the missed appointment was created 1 hour before it began from an email address that was not mine. Third, the bank statements. $23,000 in withdrawals on Gregory's card over 2 years. The judge's eyebrows went up over her glasses. And then Marcus said, "Your Honor, the petitioner stated under oath that his mother is incapable of understanding her own affairs. We would like the court to hear how the petitioner speaks to his mother when he believes no one is listening. Tennessee is a one-party consent state, and Mrs. Hayes was a party to this conversation." He pressed play. My kitchen filled that courtroom. The coffee cups, the brochure. Pamela's already looked. Gregory's "I have been managing some of your money for 2 years anyway." And then at minute 41, in his own voice, in front of the judge, "You are a senile old woman. Everyone sees it but you. Sign the papers and keep your dignity." Judge Ramsey took off her reading glasses. She looked at my son the way I should have looked at him years ago, and she said, "Counsel, I have heard enough." The petition was dismissed within the hour, but Judge Ramsey was not finished. She referred the bank withdrawals to Adult Protective Services for a financial exploitation review, and she said into the record that the incidents described in the petition appeared to be, her word, manufactured. Gregory's lawyer got very interested in his own shoes. In the settlement that followed, my son repaid the $23,000, every cent, on a schedule Marcus wrote and a judge approved. In exchange, I declined to push for charges. I am told Pamela's friend Denise had already posted a quiet listing for the farm online before the hearing. It came down the same week. Small towns talk. Her phone got very quiet after that. And the farm? The farm is doing just fine. I lease the back 30 acres to the Hendersons, who pay on time and bring me sweet corn. Marcus rebuilt my will. Everything sits in a trust now, and the trust has rules, and the rules have teeth. There is a fund in there for Lily's nursing school, paid in full. She cried at my kitchen table when I told her. Same table. Better tears. Gregory and I speak, a little. He came by in the fall and stood on the porch and said he was sorry, and for once Pamela was not there to write his lines. I told him the truth. I said, I forgave you the day the judge banged that gavel, son. Forgiveness is free. Trust is invoiced, and you have got about 22,000 left to pay. This spring, I took Lily to see the ocean, the trip Walter always promised me. We stood on the sand in Maine, and I swear I heard that man laughing. People ask me if I am angry about the whole thing. I am not. You cannot offend a bookkeeper with numbers. You can only teach her exactly what you are worth. They spent months trying to prove my mind was going. In the end, the only thing I ever lost was my patience. So if there is someone in your life slowly writing a story about you, remember this. Do not argue with the story. Keep a ledger, keep a backup, and when the time comes, let them hear themselves. If this story held you until the end, subscribe to Vermilion Veil. There is a new story every single day, and behind every veil, the truth is waiting to burn.